And we're back with Sports Next Door for our Talking Hockey segment. And the Toronto Maple Leafs have once again exited the playoffs in the first round. Oh, I heard some wise words from a girl on Tinder the other week where she said when she's getting over a guy, she grieves fully and then moves on. And I thought that was pretty profound. You feel your emotions and then you move on, and I think that's what I want to do here. I, the emotions are mainly numbness, to be honest, but I'm going to roast this team a little and then say why I don't think anything changes really. They straight up, over the point of a 7-game playoff series is to establish which team is the better team. And in game 7, the series tied 3-3. Everything is on the line. The Montreal Canadiens were absolutely the better team than the Toronto Maple Leafs. And that's really all this series comes down to. I can make excuses for an overtime where you had 10 minutes of dominance and then the puck bounced the wrong way, why you were in low spirits for a game when your captain got injured. But ultimately, we have a lot of players. We're paying a lot of money that we tanked for to get in a draft. We have a blue line that we've spent years putting together and polishing and trying to fit together. We have goaltending we felt optimistic about, and none of it mattered over the 60 minutes when it needed to matter most. And I'm not convinced you take a hammer to it. I can't believe I'm even reading headlines suggesting trade Mitch Marner, but this franchise feels cursed. I'm not the least bit surprised they blew a 3-1 series lead. Looking forward to how disappointment next year.
Yeah, there's so many ways that I could take it, and so many thoughts in my head. I had to put on my clown makeup first before I started talking, because a month from now I will be ready to get hurt again. Um, yeah, 2019 Game 7, 5-1 loss to Boston. Game 5, 2020, 3-0 loss to Columbus. This year, Game 7, 2021, 3-1 loss to Montreal. For those keeping score at home, 11-2, we have been outscored in deciding games in the last 3 years. There are so many guys who will be gone, and there will be guys who will return. I imagine Spezza's back because of the value. I would say Hall, Muzzin, Brody back because of the value and the solid defense that they played. You consider moving Riley based on 1 year left, great value contract. You can get something, but he was great in that series, and I think he's untouchable. Austin is your franchise center. You can't move him. And Willie played himself into the untouchable category. He was their best player in the series. And 6.9 is looking pretty good. And then you get to Mitch, who I love so dearly with all my heart, and I want nothing more for them to have all of the success in the world. I have his jersey. I think we both do. But in a world where you get 10, $11 million a year cap hit to not score a goal in 18 straight playoff games, to make top tier talent money on a team that spends to the cap in a flat cap now era. Obviously, you can't control a pandemic, but that is what happened. There's just no value there. And he looks scared, and his style of play is not conducive with playoff hockey. I think Matthews is terrible as well. Those two guys, they're your leaders, or at least they're your two best players. They should lead the team in production, in attitude. in performance, and they were nowhere to be found. And we can look back and see a team that was assembled on paper with very few flaws, as good as you could probably get given the circumstances. But you look now, Nick Foligno was injured when they traded for him, apparently, which I think is just awful. How can you make that trade when Taylor Hall's sitting there? Joe Thornton, no longer an NHL player. It is apparent. Wayne Simmons, good for the first 3 games, and then after that had bloodied himself into a pulp from hitting everyone and getting hit by everyone. I don't know, man. Again, a month from now, you look back and you say, not much needs to change. It's truly, they just need to get over this hump. And like, they're so young and they've got so much time, but when does it become winning time? I really don't know. Like, Marner's 24 or 23, Matthews 23, Willie's 25. Like, it's right there for them. And they've got quite a few years to go, but it's hard to build a team in the salary cap era when your top 4 guys are making 50% of the money. And they're going to have to pull all sorts of cap gymnastics to reassemble a strong team. But things have to be considered, because now with the salary situation that you're stuck in and the performance that we've seen, now it's been 5 years now of this core, and you've got nothing to show for it. So things do have to be re-examined. And I just feel so crappy, so bummed out. This, like, Montreal is not good. And you can come back and tell me, sucks, your team lost. Yeah, we did, but Montreal's not good. And neither is Winnipeg. And this team should have been in 3rd round, but they're not. And don't go to the players and send them nasty things. They're people. But it is 100% fair game to say we expect better. As a fan base, we care more than they do. That's all I got.
Yeah, I'm trying to differentiate here between a sunk cost fallacy and development. Everyone has a different development. It is unfortunate these guys, Marner and Matthews, like, you look at a guy like Pasternak, and he's been able to get his playoff experience along like 2 of the best players you could ask for in Bergeron and Marchand. That's ideally how you want young talent to be exposed and like grow up and cultured and learn what playoff hockey is. Matthews and Marner at this point, they just, when the other team kicks it into a higher gear, starts checking harder, there's nothing for free whatsoever. You have to pay for everything. There's a target on your back when you're even on the bench before you think about getting onto the ice. There's just another level, and they haven't been able to figure out how to thrive in it. And it's a question of, are we building towards that? Are all these embarrassments just a necessary part in these particular players' growths? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel that makes this all worthwhile? Or is it just never going to happen and better to move on, cut your losses? And because you're right, you could get like a William Nylander and Alex Kerfoot and like an Ilya Mikheyev for Mitch Marner, and all 3 of those, and an Alex Galchenyuk. Why not? Maybe even like a friggin', I don't know what Justin Hall or Jake Muzzin are getting paid, but like all those guys are coming maybe like 3 million higher than Marner's cap hit, and they for sure did more than him in the playoffs. So I I hadn't thought of it that way. And I want to believe that this is all growth for something. But yeah, Carey Price is very good. And that was some of the best goaltending I've seen him play in a long time, but no excuses when you're the better team. And fuck, man.
Yeah. Where will Hyman go?
Yeah.
Where will the whole slew of forwards who are on 1-year deals go? Where will Anderson go? There's an expansion draft this summer, so that's great. We have 3 picks in this year's draft? Draft picks don't matter at this point. The window's open. Nick Robertson's coming up. Rodion and Mirov's mostly coming up. Sandin's full time. Liljegren probably has a great shot to make the lineup. Who else is in there? A couple other prospects maybe coming up on the end of the team. See if you can find guys who care, right? Lots of talk about leadership this year. Ton of combined leadership experience from a lot of guys who have done jack all, really, in terms of winning. Yeah, you can say Thornton, Simmons, Spezza, Tavares, like they've all done great things, but do any of them have a cup? Muzzin does. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
All right.
It's still fresh and I'm so upset. And yeah, I don't know how much hockey I'll be watching for the next couple of weeks, but there is some great hockey. And I was so excited to watch a couple of these series. And now I just have like a bitter taste in my mouth.
Yeah. Well, I watched Montreal win that game and shut my TV off and shut this part of my brain off. Quite honestly, this is the most I've thought about it since, and I'm glad I've done that. Likewise, have not watched a ton of hockey since, which I am hoping to get back into this week. But yeah, I also don't have a ton to say about any of the other hockey action. I know you've got some notes. I don't know if you want to speak it or we just wrap up the hockey here.
Here's where I stand on hockey. Colorado, wagon. Tampa Bay, wagon. Boston, New York Islanders, snooze fest. Hate watch. Not watching a second of that series. Even if the hockey's good, I'm sorry, I just can't. I don't like either of those teams. Winnipeg, Montreal. Scheifele should be done for the series. He just came down 4 games. If it gets to a game 6, he is dying on ice. Maybe I'll watch that. Just an atrocious, disgusting hit that honestly just made me more mad because Montreal ended up winning that game. I was like, we could beat this Winnipeg team. They're not good. Montreal's not good. Okay. And then, hey, guess what? The lottery was last night. Bet you didn't know that. The NBA draft lottery is an event now, and the NHL is nowhere close. And I don't know if you could name me the number 1 prospect. I just saw today Owen Power. Great. We share same name. First time I heard of him ever. Like this draft is such a crapshoot. Went mostly chalk. Buffalo, number 1 pick. Good for them. You can add to the dumpster fire. I feel so terrible for whoever that number 1 pick is going to be. Like, truly, this is the worst year to get a top 5 pick, in my opinion. It's like such a shot in the dark. Seattle's got the number 2 pick. That's cool. Release the Kraken. Might be my new team. We'll see. New Jersey, bad. I don't know. This really Anaheim, bad. First top 5 pick they've had in 17 years, I think. Good for them. It's just, I don't know. This lottery has no intrigue, no appeal. So congrats to all those crappy teams that get picks that may turn around their franchise. kind of wish that the Leafs we could go back to when they picked Austin Matthews. That was such an exciting time. Um, but you just move forward, and this is the beginning for some of those teams to open up a window, which will eventually end in disappointment, and we begin the circle of pain once again.
On
All
that,
right, yeah, let's just move on.